As we close out week 3, we notice the progress that feels aligned, not rushed, not forced, just intentional. Welcome to day 5, our 5th day of week 3, or episode 15. Let's go. I am so excited. And I say that every single episode that I record, but every single episode I record feels more and more aligned. All right. And this is exactly what we're talking about is alignment and intentions today. So let's get into our fantastic 15. Welcome, welcome. We are talking about intentionality and being aligned. And I want you, as we start to go into our gratitude today, to think about some times in the last little bit where you've set an intention for something and it helped. You've set an intention and you were able to hang on more, where you've done things in an aligned way and that helped, right? So there are so many different little things that have happened in the last like couple of months. And I feel like this is, as I move through my foundation building, right? I'm still building the foundation of the NeuroCircus. Yes, the NeuroCircus is almost 2 years old, okay? But we are still building foundations because we were trying at first to build on like rationality, trying to build on logic, trying to build on what other people said would work, right? And I told you guys yesterday, like, you have to make these decisions for yourself. You have to be in a space where you're like, okay, like, I am making the best decision for myself, for my family, for my business, for whatever. And I'm not asking somebody else what they would do, okay? Because somebody else isn't in your shoes. And I have friends who are very, very close to, like, we go through a lot of similar things, okay? We are a collective in ourselves. We are learning a lot of the same lessons at the same time, just in different ways. And so there are a lot of times when I feel like, oh, I should ask somebody what I should do from this group because like they're learning the same lessons and maybe they'll be able to give me some insight. And while that is okay to do, it shouldn't be what your goals are based on because that's other people's lives. And so you have to make those decisions for yourself. And when you can finally stand in your own self and be like, this is what I want to do. I mean, I actually had a moment this week. And I wasn't going to tell you guys this, but I'm going to because it feels very aligned to do so. I had a moment this week where I was like, what if I could do anything, right? People ask you if you could do anything, if nothing were off the table, what would you want? And my thing was, I would want to produce shows. I would want to be the one to come up with the ideas. I would want to be the one to come up with, those kinds of things. And then hire people to be the talent, hire people to do that kind of stuff. I'm not at that place yet. And I also enjoy talking. So I would never just completely, think of like an editor of a paper, right? Like they still get to do their editorial, they still get to say their piece. And so like I think, when we talk about a media company, which is what I feel called to bring forth, is a neurodivergent media company with everything from, dramas and sitcoms and, little tiny, 15 minutes tip shows and stuff like that. So feeling that way and knowing that that's like eventually what I want the NeuroCircus to be, right? And then also the NeuroCircus Collective, which is my groups that I lead. And I would love to talk on stages. That's always been a thing for me. And so, like, there is that spot, but I want to be able to increase the amount of output that I do. I want to increase my reach. I want to be able to touch kids and reach teens and also be able to help parents and grandparents and all, everybody involved, right? And so when I could articulate that, and I'm like, that's the end goal. Even though, yeah, once we get that, it'll change. Things will be different. We'll want something different at that point and we'll work toward that. But like right now, that's the end goal. The end goal is to create multiple programs, multiple things, multiple ways of reaching people, right? And so, like, I just kind of do, Dream Life season as like my way of this was something that I needed, I still need, right? And so if I can give this to other people, then I'm excited about that. And we can build our community off being able to have this space, off of being able to do this. Gratitude. I am so grateful for being able to find the alignment. Okay. And that's something that takes time because a lot of times, especially if we're ambitious, if we have multiple things that we want to do, we can feel very, very like we want too much, like what we desire is too much. And so, this is where I am just gonna say it, right? You're allowed to have what you want. And so, once you finally get really clear on what it is that you want, yes, I want this, but I want it to be deeper and bigger and more. I want this for myself, but then I want to be able to produce more content. I want to be able to run something where, other people are able to, eventually other people are able to put their talents and their life and their, stuff onto my channel so that it gets seen, right? And that's where I know we're headed. So, alignment is everything. What are some things that you are grateful for that you either, like you feel like, okay, I aligned with this and then something happened? Or, I set intentions. That's another one. If I set intentions for something, like when I set intentions for my week, it's a lot easier for me to accomplish what I need to accomplish that week because I've set the intentions around it. And so my brain is then trying to, okay, like we can't do this because this is what the goal is, right? And so allowing ourselves to go to that place. We are going to do our quick grounding video, and then I will come back with a little bit of inspiration before we do move your body. So, alignment and intention, okay? We have to find what we are aligned with and then set the intentions to do it. And I think that, again, like I said, we are just now building our foundation because we have just now really figured out. I have just figured out what the Neurocircus's purpose kind of is, what we are supposed to do. And so, because of that, I'm in this space where I'm like, okay, like it starts with this, and then we grow and we grow more. And, as we grow, we're going to pick people up along the way. We're going to get, hire people. People are going to help out, whatever. And I'm aware of that now. So now it's like everything that I'm doing with more intention. The groups, I am so excited. I'm like I don't want to say I'm trying to like hurry and get all of these recordings done, but I told myself that I needed to get like this week done and I needed to get the back. I have like 3 back ones that I have to do. And if I can get this one and the 3 back ones done, then I can dive in for the next couple of days to doing like figuring out what all is going to be involved in the groups. And it's so exciting to me because I like February is going to be an amazing month. Okay. It just is. I have always been somebody that has shied away from love, has shied away from romance. I will watch a good rom-com with the best of them, but there is has been in the past a very skeptical cynic in me that has created that space where, okay, that's great, very cute, now let's move on with life, right? But this coming up month is so much deeper than that surface level, like, oh, find your soulmate kind of thing. It is about romanticizing our own lives. It's about romanticizing things like doing the dishes. How do you make doing the dishes more pleasurable? How do you make doing the things that you don't want to do pleasurable, because we can do that. We can find ways to do that. And when we do it correctly, it creates this sense of get to do this stuff. I have seen so many people, and it's something that I know I'm going to do for myself. I'm probably going to make that one of my goals for February. Like folding laundry while you're listening to a podcast or watching something, and not watching something to learn, watching something for fun, watching something that you're not supposed to be taking notes on. It's just pure entertainment, right? There are so many YouTubers that I love watching, but I don't really get a chance to watch very often because I'm trying to create content. I'm trying not to consume more than I create. Well, I've been creating a ton. So that means I am allowed to consume a little bit, right? And if I compare those things, right? I'm going to fold laundry. I'm going to do dishes. I'm going to do the things, I'm going to take trash out, and I'll bring my phone with me and stick it in my pocket and listen to some of my favorite YouTubers, right? And those things and only doing them during that time where it's like, okay, like you get to do this when you do this and not before, and not just because. And when I allow myself to do those kinds of things like that, right? It's going to make that time feel like, okay, I really want to do this thing because I want the other thing that goes with it. So I am excited about February. I'm excited about where it's going to take us as a group and as a community. And I also am just leaning very deeply into the aligned trust that because I'm putting one foot in front of the other and doing the thing, I'm going to be met halfway. And that is, like I said, that's exciting. We talked about the 12-week year earlier this week. And I was saying that, like, okay, my 12-week goal is to have 5 paying people in my group, in any of my groups, right? It could be 1 in 2 in 2 and 1 in 1, right? Or whatever. But knowing that that is a goal, and that that is a goal that's very modest for the amount of time that I'm giving it and the amount of work that I'm putting into getting these things out there. And because of that, we are in a space where I feel very okay, if you will, I feel okay with like having that as a goal. I know we're going to hit that. And when we hit that, then like that takes one layer off, right? Because that's basically what I'm paying out of pocket to keep my business running. So when I get that, then it pays for itself. And then as people start to see the value that they're getting and word of mouth gets out there, things will happen. And I don't mean to make this all about myself, but I am trying to help you see how aligned action, how aligning yourself with the right thing, it brings more ideas with it. It brings a confidence with it. It brings, before I might not have said 5. I might have said, I just want 1. Or I might have way overshot, been like, I want 20 people in my groups in 12 weeks. And that's not necessarily a hard thing to do, right? But the number 5 feels very aligned. It feels like it's something that can happen. And it might not happen until week 12, right? And that's okay. That is okay. We are fine with that. Again, I'm just excited for all of the things that are coming. And I want you guys to come along for the ride. I want you guys to dive into the alignment. I want you guys to, and I think I do, I'm not gonna go into super detail, but I do have a friend or two that I feel like we are all in the same space right now, where diving into alignment feels a little scary. It feels a little bit like we are trusting something when we haven't seen evidence of it happen yet. And I want to say this: if you are on that boat with us, where you're like, I really want to do the aligned stuff, but I also really feel like I'm not where I need to be, things aren't where they need to be for me to be ready to do this. I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to just find some piece of alignment in all of this, right? It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have, you don't have to have a 6-figure year this year, or you don't have to have a like a 5-figure month this month in order to have a 6-figure year. You can quite literally have a lower month or two in the beginning and then snowball that and exponentially grow it as you lean more into those aligned actions, right? Sometimes aligned action looks like not doing anything. And that can also be scary because it can feel like, what do you mean I'm not supposed to do anything? Winter is that time when we are supposed to be resting, because come spring, things are going to pop off, things are going to grow, things are going to be more. And that's one reason why I'm not pushing everything so hard. I'm getting into routines, right? I'm getting into routines. Some of the stuff that I'm doing in the groups is stuff that I want to do for myself anyway. So all I'm doing is taking my challenges that I'm doing for myself and making them available to other people. All I'm doing is taking the tips and the tricks that I'm using to get myself through this time and making them available with some accountability and some fun competition within a group setting. And so I'm not actually creating more. I am creating for myself. And then from then we get this, we get more. I can do more for other people with that. All right. So inspiration wise, find that aligned space, whether that's not doing anything right now, whether that's continuing to stay on course and just stay the course, do the things, whether that's, okay, I feel like there's a part of me that wants to stay the course because I've already said I would, but I also feel like maybe I don't need to, right? Maybe I should be doing something else and it's pulling me. Step into that, feel into that. What does that feel like? Does it feel easier? Does it feel more aligned, more expansive? If it does, lean into it, do it. Move toward that. Don't keep yourself in a shackled space because you said you would. Because I'm going to tell you right now, chances are, just because you said you would, people aren't going to pay that much attention. Maybe some of your family and friends will say, well, I thought you said you were going to do this. And you'll say, well, this feels like it's something that I need to do more right now. And, maybe they'll have something to say, maybe they won't. We all have to deal with that, idea that we don't finish things that we start. But a lot of times we would have never thought of the thing we're doing now if we hadn't done something else before. And so that's a thing. There's steps. We're building the staircase. And sometimes that means that we do the thing and we see it all the way through. And sometimes that means that we needed to get on this page so that we could see this other opportunity so we could jump over. And so that's just how we work sometimes. Alrighty, guys, we are going to get into Move Your Body. I will see you over there. Welcome to the Move Your Body section. So we're going to start out with some neck rolls, big roll. Make sure you're breathing while you're doing this. All right, another big roll. Now we're going to go the opposite way. Big rolls. That's 2. And we're going to do 3 and 4 and 5. All right, now we're going to do shrug shoulders and drop them. Shrug your shoulders up and drop them. All right, shrug your shoulders up, relax. Shrug your shoulders up, relax again. All right, one more time. All right, now we're going to stretch up. Wiggle those fingers, stretch up as high as you can, and down. And we're going to do that again. Stretch, 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 and down. And stretch, 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 up, up, high, high, and down. All right, stretch up one more time, and down. One last time, we're going to stretch, 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 and down. All right, now we're going to stretch up, and we're going to go to the right, and then to the center, and then to the left, and then back to the center. And we're going to repeat and go to the right, and then the center, and then stretch to the left, and then back to the center, And then down to touch your toes. Hold it there, hold it there, hold it there. All right, roll it back up. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. On to the next segment. All right, welcome back to Fun with Food. Alignment. Wow. That is one that does not always seem like it fits into the kitchen, right? Intentions and alignment. But we were talking and we've been talking, and this is something I just feel like there's a collective of us out there that part of our problem with having the energy to do things, part of our problem with having the clarity in doing things, part of our problem is our roller coaster, either diet, roller coaster, exercise, like, fitness routines, things like that, where we are not prioritizing those things for ourselves and for our families sometimes too, right? And so from that space, we need to figure out where we need to be more in alignment so that we can help ourselves be in alignment more with everything else. All right. So this is like such a deep episode. This whole thing, like yesterday's was deep when we were talking about capacity, and today talking about alignment, talking about doing things intentionally. It's another like kind of heavier episode, right? Because we can feel like, okay, I have to make all these decisions and I have to do all these things. At the end of the day, I really truly believe that we put way too much stock in what other people tell us. And I am not saying that if you read a book and it resonated with you and you started a diet or you started an exercise routine or you started doing something for yourself and you saw results, I am not at all saying that that is a bad thing. Sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need that help, right? We need somebody else to tell us what we don't know. There are also moments in our lives where we listen to and get confused by so many different things, and it really is simple. I was telling you guys yesterday about how I had a Whopper and I was craving a Whopper. I really, really wanted a Whopper. I got the Whopper. I ate half of it, right? That's not going to be in anybody's book to, yeah, go eat a Whopper, right? But that's what my body needed. And when I looked at it, I realized I didn't need the whole thing. My brain instantly said, okay, that's a lot. You can probably have half, save the other half for later. And I listened to my body and I did what my body said. And, I'm able to record, I'm able to sit here and do those things because I'm listening to what my body needs. Okay. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, but I don't know what my body needs. My body doesn't tell me what it needs. I don't think about when I'm hungry. There is a space, okay, where I understand that a lot of these things the brain doesn't necessarily always work with us. Neurodivergent wise, that can be a hard thing. This is what I'm going to tell you. You know your life best. You know your body best. Okay. So you need to make the choices that help you to have the best energy, help you to have the best, right? And sometimes I hear this, well, I would love to be able to have the diet that I want, but that's special food, and then my family won't eat it, and then I'm buying. So start small. This is the thing. And I think this is where sometimes we feel like we feel like we have to do all or nothing, right? So we're either in this space where we have to like have everything and, our whole diet needs to be perfect and everything needs to be right on, or why even do it at all? Little baby steps will get you there. Things like, okay, I know I need more, more iron maybe, or I know I need more protein in my diet. What can I do to add some protein? One of the things that I did was just adding like 1 or 2 containers of cottage cheese to what I eat in a week. and there's some extra protein for you. I also get Greek yogurt now, and I have protein powder that I'll mix in it. And that's another snack, lunch, breakfast, whatever. That's giving me some of the stuff without having to spend an immense amount of money. And it's also helping me to feel like I'm doing something for my body that's helping, right? I'm giving it more of what it needs. And slowly we can step it. We can slowly, I said before, I really would like to start eating salads more, and we're going to start buying salad stuff. Like, it's going to happen slowly, and it doesn't have to be all at once. And it doesn't have to be like this big, huge change. But when you're making decisions for yourself, whether, and I'll even go on we talk about the kitchen. Sometimes we talk about organization and cleaning and having things the way you need it. If you find yourself like taking twice as long to do stuff because intuitively nothing in your kitchen is where you would go to get it, move stuff around in your kitchen. Make things as simple as possible. I keep all of my drink stuff in one area. That way, whether you're making a shake, whether you're making coffee, whether you're getting yourself some water with some flavoring in it, it's all in one area. It's all right there. That is one area that helps, right? Especially if we're trying to drink more water, but we maybe don't like water that much. We can do the things like we can have the water with a little bit of flavoring in it, right? And then we're getting our water in. Sometimes we have to kind of trick ourselves a little bit. We have to do little things that help us to make the aligned choices. I am so excited, okay, for what is to come. And I can tell you that a lot of it is because I make every decision now from an aligned standpoint, okay? I sit there and think to myself, like, I am able to make a decision and say, is this something I can live with? Is this something that I'm going to regret later? Is this something where it's going to frustrate everybody later? And I say that, right? Sometimes I will make the decisions that will frustrate people later, but help me. That is also another place where sometimes we have to do that. But at the end of the day, we are moving ourselves forward when we're making those aligned decisions. So whether that's what I'm eating, like I said, a lot of us, this collective, a lot of us, it's either not eating the wrong foods, or overeating, right? And that's literally everything, right? People either don't eat, they do eat, or they eat too much, right? But that is like the thing. Where do you fall on that continuum? Where are you on that spectrum? And what decisions do you need to make so that you can get yourself on the best side of that space? I used to drink 2 Monsters a day. Okay, I'm gonna sip real fast. I used to drink 2 Monsters a day. I didn't drink water. I have made it a priority to have bottled water in the house now. When we start to run out, I will reorder. And that's because if I have it, I'll drink it. But if I don't, I'm probably not going to drink tap water that much. And I've actually went a full day without drinking anything except coffee, because I didn't want what we had. And I know that sounds counterintuitive and like I'm a 5-year-old and all of that, but it's just truth, right? If the food that we have we don't like, we're probably not going to eat it. So what choices can you make that align with what you need, that also help you feel like you're, getting something good out of the deal, right? All of that is aligned action, okay? So when we are, whatever your goal is, okay? So for myself personally, I have a few different health goals, but they all boil down to being able to handle more, being able to be more active, being able to do more, being able to have more energy. And so at the end of the day, it's kind of a no-brainer, right? You're going to have more energy if you lose weight, but having more energy is going to help you burn more calories because you're going to be doing more to lose weight. So it all kind of goes around in a circle, right? So energy is one of those things where I'm like, how do I help myself get the most energy that I can? And then what does that look like? Do I have off days where I'm still eating the right foods, but like I'm not necessarily like on a day when I'm just doing like I'm not recording and I'm just doing paperwork and, behind the scenes stuff and whatever. Those days, I don't have to have as much energy and I can chill on some of the stuff and I don't have to be so on it and all of that, right? But then how do I fuel myself so that I have the energy, I am able to do the things? And some of that is just sheerly listening to your body. Like I said, I mean, nobody in their right mind would have said, go get a regular Whopper with cheese and eat half of it, and you're going to be able to record 4 different episodes. But I am, and it worked because that's what my body wanted, and I listened. So, again, I say to you, like, we're in that space where you have to listen to your body, listen to what you know works. If your body is not telling you you're hungry, then how often do you need to put fuel in your body, right? Maybe pay attention. How does your blood sugar feel? If you can get one of those testers so that you can kind of see where your blood sugar levels are and make sure that you're keeping it where it needs to be, not dropping it too low, not spiking it because you're, eating too heavy when you haven't eaten that much to begin with, right? Try to just keep it as even as possible, but don't let it dip. And maybe you're like, I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know how to eat when I'm not hungry. Get a protein shake. Get one of those built protein bars or something and have a couple bites. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything crazy if that's not what your body needs, but putting the fuel in your body will help. It will help. So, what are some decisions that we are making to help us have the most aligned bodies this year? What kinds of things? Drop them in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. We are going to move over to the first ring. Well, welcome to the first ring. Today, we're talking about alignment. And so, one of the things that I think that's fun that we don't allow ourselves to do a lot of times is to just sit and dream. And I want you guys to take some time. Obviously, you can pause this if you want to and do it right now, or if you want to do it later, do it later. I'd appreciate it if you guys would come back if you do it later though and let me know what you came up with, okay? But I want you to just sit and dream for a minute. Just sit and think about what would be the perfect setup in your house, the perfect areas so that everybody felt like they had their own space. So that maybe you had, and maybe this feels so not possible right now, right? Maybe you're like, I live in like a 1 bedroom apartment with 5 people. Like, there's just no way that this is happening, right? Maybe you're like, I really, really wish I could see a way where the space that I had would make that. I want you to visualize what would make the perfect place. It doesn't have to be your own space, okay? And I'll tell you why. Because as we're moving forward through this, a lot of us are outgrowing places, we're outgrowing spaces, we're outgrowing relationships, we're outgrowing stuff. And while we're in this like transitional time period right now, we're going to start to see where, okay, how do I move into a space that feels more aligned? How do I move into a space that feels like I could be in a better place? Like I could have more, like, I could have everything the way I need it. And so while we're there, right, I want you guys to just take a minute and just think about like what that space would look like, how you would set things up, right? Maybe how would you set up? Would you have a coffee bar? Would you have, an outdoor area that you could sit in? Would you have like a special area? Like for me, one of my things would be the studio. That's one of the things that would make life so much easier for me is to have a space that had doors that, I could close and that, you're blocking a lot, maybe not all of the sound, but if you're using microphones and things like that, that help too, then, you can block a lot of the sound out And that way you're able to do things when you feel like doing them, right? So I want you to like just start sitting there and thinking about what alignment looks like in your house. What does alignment look like? And maybe the first thing that you say to me is alignment looks like my kids listening. Alignment looks like us not having a million different meltdowns a day. Alignment looks like, and if that's the case, then if the space is not so much the issue as the problems that are coming up, the moments, the meltdowns, the things like that, how do we find ways to change that, right? How do we find spaces that feel just right, that don't feel overstimulating? Because a lot of times a meltdown comes from being overstimulated. So you might say, oh, well, everything's perfect. I love it. Everything's fine. But my kids are all over the place. Or, I just wish that, my kids' playroom was everything was put away and stuff. One of the things I did, and I was told by several different therapists and people that my kids had too many toys out. They said it's not that your kids have too many toys necessarily, because they're going to get bored with their toys that they're playing with. So what you need to do is box them up, leave out, maybe 8 per kid or something like that, 5, 8 per kid, and then box the others up in 5 to 8 a piece, and then rotate through them every few days. And that way, they can keep their like favorite stuffy out, things like that. But as far as the big stuff, as far as the stuff that like having everything out all the time, they have too much to choose from, and they're running into that problem where they're not able to make a decision. So then they're not happy because they're just sitting there. They're like in paralysis, unable to play. And so if you give them fewer choices, they're going to be able to make the decision easier. They're going to be able to start playing sooner, and eventually they'll get bored with it and you'll be able to tell, and then you can just swap through them. And I loved that idea because not only did that idea help with them being able to kind of not necessarily keep themselves occupied, but I didn't have to pick out things to play with them necessarily all the time. They were able to play by themselves for a little bit before I would go in and play with them and stuff. And because of that, also, I didn't have as big of a mess to clean up. So that helped me out too, right? Because a majority of it was already put away. And then we'd swap through them, and it worked perfectly. So sometimes it is the space that we need to figure out. Just because it doesn't bother us doesn't mean that it's not bothering our kids, doesn't mean that our kids aren't overstimulated. If there's too much going on, if there's too much to look at, if our rooms are super bright and whatever, there can be a lot of overstimulation and all of that. So that being said, I want you guys to like go deeper, right? Think about what that space would look like. I would have an area for hanging out that would be the loud area. You could have a loud TV, a loud whatever, loud music, and it would be comfortable. It would be inviting. It would be that place that everybody could go to hang out, and it would be okay to be loud, but also the rest of the house wouldn't necessarily be so loud. So that, if you have moments where you're just like, okay, I have a headache and I just need to like sit for a minute, right? Like there's too much going on. You can do that. I would have a space like that. I would have calm down areas for both of my kids. I would have my own space where I would have my own calm down area, where I would have my own work area, and I can just go in and I can just visualize all of these things. And as I'm visualizing these things, I start making aligned choices to the things that I'm doing now. So, for instance, I want my studio. I just bought the podcasting equipment for it. I have a Amazon wish list that has the chairs that I want, the chair covers that I want, because we have a kitty cat and we need the covers just in case, right? Like keep it covered, and then if I have to, I can take the covers off and wash them. So the covers for the chairs, because the chairs are cushy, soft, spaces where, you can kind of sink into them and enjoy being there. I love talking to you guys. I love being in this space. And sometimes I'm on the edge of my seat and I'm right here and I'm excited and I want to talk. Sometimes I need that space where I can just sit back and just like talk to you guys, right? And so being able to have a space where I have the same thing that I can use, but I can do both, right? And then having like I want a rolling kitchen island that I can put my cooktop on and I can, have the lighting where I can cook for you guys. We can talk recipes, we can talk meal planning. You guys can start to kind of see things happen and cook along with me and things like that. That's exciting too. So that's kind of the vision that I have. So making those, like I said, I got the podcasting stuff. I got, I needed to get the room where my laundry was cleaned out. So I went and made it a priority to get I got plastic for now because it's what we can get. I got plastic dressers for myself and my oldest because my youngest has her clothes in the other room. But for myself and my oldest, I got us dressers to put our clothes in so that, we have that. And before they had dressers and they used to like tear apart the drawers and stuff, jump on them and jump off the dresser onto the bed. And like, I had to get away from that because it wasn't even safe. So, like, if that gives you any ideas to like where we've been, right? And how I know sometimes we have to make decisions that other people go like, really, why do you not have dressers? Well, one, they're broke, and two, they're broke. And because they're broke, somebody could get hurt either on the fact that they're broke or they could have gotten hurt before they got broke. So that's a safety hazard for us, right? So it's one of those things where sometimes you just don't realize it until you're living it. And then you're living it and you're like, what am I supposed to do? And it's like, well, you put one foot in front of the other and you do whatever you need to do in the moment. And then eventually you work your way through it. And that's where we're at now, right? I have teenagers basically. They are not too keen on jumping off of dressers anymore. So we're good. That being said, like that is a real life example of some place where we had a setup and I had things the way a normal family would have them. And then we had to do away with that because it just wasn't safe. So, what are some things where you're like, this is what alignment looks like? This is something that I'm striving for, right? And as you're striving for those things, what are some action steps that you can take that you can say, like, okay, maybe it's as simple as I'm going to start saving for a bigger place. Maybe it's as simple as I'm going to start looking to see, maybe like in our area, I can actually get a bigger place for cheaper. And we're actually looking into that. I had to get through a few things first and stuff. But being in a bigger place that's cheaper just sounds like a win, right? So it's like now I need to go down that road a little bit and see what's going to happen on that. But again, it keeps going, right? Because there's more to it than that. Then it's like, okay, now what are the things that we need to have in our new place? You can put together a wish list. You can put together something where it's like, okay, these are the things that I want. And then every month you can check one of them off, right? You can put all different price ranges on there too. So maybe one month you're having a rougher month and it's like, okay, all I can afford is a couple of throw pillows, or, all I can afford is this like $5 thing. And then like the next month you're like, oh, well, we're doing a little bit better this month, so I'm going to go get a bigger item off of it, right? But you're working towards it and you have that goal and it's sitting there and you can visually see it. And also when you visually see it, I want you to lean into, and this might take a minute for you guys to get used to this, but I want you to lean into like it's already mine, right? I've already got this stuff. It's already mine. Like almost like I already ordered this stuff, right? I'm just waiting for it to be delivered kind of thing. And I don't mean go out and tell everybody that you already ordered that stuff because that's going to be harder for you to explain. But like just tell yourself like it's already coming. It's already on its way. And then when you think about it, think about all the good, think about all the fun, think about all of that, and allow yourself to go to that place, because we are no longer in a space where, like, as a neurodivergent community, we are becoming so much stronger. We are becoming so much more, I don't want to use the word capable, but we believe in ourselves more. We have more support because we have the numbers behind us now. And we are able to kind of step into that place where we're like, this is what supports me. This is what supports my family. One way or another, I'm going to have this stuff because it's supportive and it's what I need. And I know that God, the universe, who, whatever it is that you believe, is going to provide this for me. And then open yourself up to receiving, open yourself up to people asking, open yourself up to include the wish list link on your stuff, right? Post your wish list link in, like, on your Facebook page, things like that, right? And make it fun. Don't make it like, please, please, please buy it for me. Make it like, these are, I just finally stepped into this space where I'm realizing that these things will truly support my family in having the most amazing space that we can live in. And I am so excited because I know that I'm going to start crossing all of these off my list very soon and just put it out there, right? So, what are some things that will support you? What are some things that you need? What are some things where you're like, if I just tweak this, if I just move that, maybe it's as simple as repurposing a room, repurposing an area. Like, okay, we have a formal dining room, but we never use it. So maybe I take that formal dining room and I either put my dining table in storage or sell it if you need to get the money to put more stuff in there. And then I turn that dining room into something else, into a different kind of room, right? I know sometimes we have things because we want to feel a certain way. Growing up, it was a big deal that we had a dining room and a living room and an eat-in kitchen area. Like, a lot of my friends, the people around me, my neighborhood, kind of, they all had it, but a lot of my friends didn't really have that kind of stuff. And so they would, all kind of be like, that's really cool. Like, you have this, like, actual, like, formal dining area, and then you have, like, this, this big area. It was like a breakfast nook right in our kitchen when I was at my grandma's, and like that was a space where it became something. And then, like, having a dining room makes me feel some type of way. However, we don't ever eat at a table like that. I mean, we eat together, generally speaking, but it's never like that. And a lot of times we don't always eat at the same time. So I don't need that. And so sometimes you have to let go of that comforting feeling of like, oh, I've arrived, I have a dining room, or oh, I have this space. Like, okay, and be like, all right, yeah, you have it, but how could you use that space to make things better for yourself and for your family, right? Like, I'm turning our dining room area into my studio as soon as I possibly can. And people will go, well, you're in the bathroom right now, right? Like, but yeah, but that means that people can't go to the bathroom. That means that people can't take showers. That means that, people have to feel bad because they have to feel like they have to interrupt me in order to do that kind of stuff. And so it's also very close to the bedrooms. So if I'm louder, they're going to hear me. So if I'm in the other room, if I'm all the way at the other end of the apartment, it's going to be easier for me to do the things. So that's one of those spaces where I'm like, I need to just do this. Like, this is what I need to do. I need to give this space up and turn it into this so that this space can be what it needs to be too. So let me know in the comments what your things are, what you're, excited to be able to, looking forward to being able to change or add to or whatever for your home to be that place of alignment that you need. All right, we're going to move into the center ring right now. All right, welcome back, guys. We are on the center ring talking about alignment. This can be a tough one because, as much as it's tough to align other people, which you really can't do, or to align things like our home, to align whatever, we're going to have at times the biggest fight trying to align ourselves. Okay. This is the place where we have to do the deep dive. We have to ask ourselves, like, what does alignment really look like? What is it that we are trying to achieve? What is it? And how, not necessarily how do we get there, because a lot of times we have to just leave the how up to the way things are going to fall, the universe, right? God. However, like, when it matters with other people, when other people come into play, we can't change somebody else. We can't make someone else do something. We can ask somebody, but we can't even have them be ready to say yes when we ask. So we have to leave that up to the divine to do that. But when it comes to our own alignment, right? Our own alignment with things and how we choose to show up on a daily basis. I think sometimes we can get caught up in this idea of it's not worth it. I'm not seeing what I need to see for it to be worth it. So why would I continue to put myself out there? Why would I continue to do the things that I'm doing, to show up the way that I'm showing up if nothing is happening? And this is where alignment matters the most, okay? And I say that because of this. If you followed my journey at all, I have done some pretty amazing things last year over on TikTok. I mean, I wouldn't say they're amazing for me, okay? We had a really good month in June. We had a pretty good month last May when I got back into going live over there. And I went live like pretty much every day in May and pretty much every day in June. And it was a lot. It was a lot of effort. It was a lot of work. And we did do really good. I was in a battle tournament over there for the agency that I was in at the time. And we got second place in that. We had a lot of people that would come in and hang out. We made a lot of friends. We grew our community by, I think close to 400 or 500 in like a month's time. That being said, it was not returning enough for me to do it because my heart wasn't in it that way. Do I love showing up and doing live stuff? Yes. But I would much rather get up on stage and be with people in actual presence than I would sitting there going live and hoping that people are going to come in, then people come in, then people leave. My heart just was not in it fully. And so we tried to kind of go back to it, and then we kind of went, okay, like it's not worth it. But that was not me giving up on something early. That was me deciding that that particular avenue was not aligned with who I wanted to be. And because of that, I was taking time away from what I really wanted. If y'all know, you know, I want to play button. I want to speak on stages. I want to do retreats. I want to do all of that. I want to run groups. I don't want to be stuck for 2 to 3 hours a day on TikTok, hoping and praying that people are going to show up and hang out, and then I'm not just going to be talking to myself the whole time. That does not sound like fun to me. And so, even though, like I said, we made some really good friends and we had some fun, and it showed me that I can be successful, right? But also, it was a lot of work, and it was work that felt like work. It was work that felt defeating at times. It was work that felt frustrating at times. And that was going live every day for like 6 weeks. So, in that, like, you kind of have to sit back and go, okay, like she went live every day for 6 weeks. And yeah, I had some people in there. I think the most that I've had in my lives at that time was about 20 or 25 people. And a lot of those were people who weren't talking. A lot of those were strangers and people who just happened to pop by. So it wasn't people who were engaging either, which, good, bad, whatever. But that being said, I realized that I'm going to have to keep this level up for a very extended period of time. And I may not see a whole lot of results right away. And is this something that you're willing to not do these other things that you want to do this? And at that point, I was like, no. We need to move forward. We need to do other things. And I've done a lot of stuff, right? We created the holiday playbook, which next Christmas that will be fully out. It is fully ready. I was just having trouble with all of the back end stuff. And we're going to take that as it wasn't time for it to come out yet. So I had to sit and be patient with that because I was ready. I had it all there and it just wasn't the right time. And I'm okay with that. I am 100% okay with that. Whether it comes out in my groups as an add-on during the holiday season, that could be a possibility too. So again, I am so excited for all of the things that are coming. And personally, you have to decide what you're willing to show up for and what you don't really want to show up for. And once you have that line in the sand and you know, okay, I'm not available to cross this line. I don't want, then you can take that out of circulation. You can say, okay, I'm no longer going to do this. I'm still going to create content on TikTok, but I'm not going to be a live host. I might go live sometimes, maybe around a 5-day challenge, maybe around a full moon or a new moon to do some talk about the moon and the cycles and things. Maybe I'll do cards one day or something like that on there, but I am not, as a rule, going to go on there regularly ever again. And I've kind of decided that. I've been like, okay, like at least in this moment, that's not a fallback, because that's what it was. It was a fallback. It was like I need to make this money and I need to make it right now. And this is the way that I think I can do that. And then I wouldn't make it, but I'd be spending all those hours doing that. And it would get so frustrating for me, right? Because it wasn't aligned. And I was trying to force something instead of trusting, instead of being in that place where I was like, okay, if you do what you feel called to do, if you do what you feel compelled to do, and you do it and you show up and you leave it all out there and you give it everything that you've got, and then you just let it go, right? You let it go, and wherever the chips fall, they fall where they may, right? And I have had more surprises happen. I've had more things where I've gotten surprise money, I've gotten surprise gifts, I've gotten things that have helped me in other areas, right? Because I'm allowing myself to be aligned. I'm not just floating all over the place anymore. I have more of an aligned way of looking at things. And on top of that, I am trusting that I am following the aligned actions to success. And success doesn't necessarily look like I'm going to make 5 figures off of this. It might, but it might not. It might look something like, okay, you're going to do this for a certain amount of time. And again, I say things like, you win the lottery, or you get an inheritance, or somebody gives you a gift, or there's all these different scenarios and ways that things can happen. So aligning and then kind of getting out of the way, if you will. Align with it, but don't be so attached to the outcome. Just kind of go, okay, like this feels right. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to put it out there, and then I'm going to go about my business. I'm going to relax. I'm going to hang out with my family. I am going to, and this is one thing I haven't done. I have not been promoting this, but I've not been promoting it for a reason, because I want to be in a space. And I know I can hear it now. Some of the people that I follow saying things like, well, you can't wait until you're ready to do it. You have to just go out there and do it. And I am, like, that is happening. It is happening this weekend, because we are going to talk all about the 5-day challenge coming up next week. So next week is going to be the 5-day challenge. I will talk about that in the wrap up today, because today is Friday. Do y'all believe today is Friday? My goodness. So I want to know what some things are that you either have already made aligned decisions on, that you are intentionally walking the steps of, or what is something we'll do it two ways here. Besides that, where are you struggling to figure out if you're in alignment? What does that look like? What is it? What are you trying to figure out? Like, is it a business? Is it a part of a business, right? Like, going live as a live host on TikTok is not my business. It was part of my business for a while, but it is not all of what I do, right? So maybe it's a part of that. Maybe you're like, I don't know if I should be on Instagram anymore, or I feel like I need to be on YouTube, or, I volunteer at this one place, but I really feel like maybe I should add a day or so and volunteer over here, but that's like putting a lot on my plate and I don't know, what are some of the things that y'all are I won't say struggling with, I'll say dealing with. What are you trying to figure out? If you have already figured it out, what are some of your aligned steps? What are some of the things that you are going to start doing so that you keep yourself accountable to walking that line that you know you need to walk? All right, let's get over to the third ring now. We are officially in the last segment of this week. I am so grateful that you guys are here. I'm so grateful that you guys are watching this, that you guys are, commenting and getting things out of these shows. So when we talk about business, this is probably the easiest and the hardest to align to, because there's so many people telling us so many things about how to properly market, how to properly run whatever kind of business we're running, right? And also, if we listen to ourselves, right? And we listen to what we feel called to do. We listen to what excites us. We listen to what lights us up. We are going to find such an easier time going forward doing things if we can just kind of shake the I want to listen to all the gurus and listen to ourselves. And I've been screaming this whole episode. Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself about your body and your health. Listen to yourself about like how you need your house and your home to be, and what types of things you need, and all of that. Listen to yourself about what you need to do to move forward, right? Because we ultimately are the creators of our future. And so we know what we enjoy, we know what we like, we know what we don't like. And yeah, sometimes we have to endure some of the things we don't like. Okay, we do. I think in every job ever, there is something that, if it's not something that we don't like we adamantly do not like, it is something that we are in a space where we don't know it that well. We feel a little uncomfortable with it. We would rather hire it out if we could, things like that, right? That we just have to kind of get over and move through. And I feel like there's a big part of this whole month of Dream Life season that is my aligned action. I do it whether you want to or not kind of thing. The right people are going to come to you at the right time. And until then, you have to just hold down the fort and do the stuff. Know that the right people are coming. Know that you're going to have, I know I'm going to have an editor. I know at some point I'm going to have, we talked about this, I think it was last episode, where I was saying, maybe it was this episode, I don't remember now. I've done too many of them in a row now. But where we talked about how excited I am that I know now, right? I know that I want to have a media company and I want to produce and I want to be the one to, create things that other people want to, work in, that other people want to act in, other people want to, do that. And I have to kind of hold the fort down here. I have to kind of get our name out there. I have to put in the reps and do the things. And then eventually, we're going to find an editor. Eventually, we're going to find other people who want to take parts of Dream Life season, right? I would love to be able to make Dream Life season like a magazine every day, right? That you wake up and you can tune in, and you're not just going to see me, but you're going to see 5, 7 different people that are going to be bringing to you the best of the best that they have to offer on that day about that topic. And I would love, that would be a dream to be able to just be the one to facilitate that, right? And then zoom everything over to an editor who can put it together, make it look pretty, and get it out there on time. I feel like the base of this, okay, is really the base for which a lot of our neurodivergent manifestations happen. We don't manifest the way other people manifest, and people might disagree with me, but I 1,000% believe that because we feel more vividly, because we feel more deeply, we see more vividly, we have everything is just dialed up for us. And so that can feel like a lot, and it can feel like you want to hide from it sometimes. But the truth is, that's the reason why so many of us have so many interests, have so many, maybe we only have 2 or 3 super deep interests, right? But we don't have interest in a lot of other things at a surface level. Like, these are the things that we are interested in, and like, we feel alive when we're talking about them. And that's because that's our calling, and that's where we are headed. That's what we are supposed to figure out, right? And not figure out brain wise, but just allow things to come to us. Dream Life season was not something I sat and thought about. Okay. Dream Life season was something that came to me because I was so frustrated with having to switch between videos. And I just said, I really wish there was like a Good Morning America for neurodivergent people that didn't have all of the negativity in it, that I could just turn on the TV and not have to mess with flipping between different things or, anything like that. Just hit it and let it play. And then it be long enough that I could, have my coffee and get my thoughts together, right? And all of that, and then start my day. And I wouldn't necessarily have to go to social media. I wouldn't necessarily, yes, you have to go to YouTube, and YouTube is technically social media, but like, you can go to YouTube and like go straight to the episode and just click on that. And, having notifications on where as soon as a episode drops, it'll let you know it's supposed to let you know, right? So that you can just click that link there, click that notification, and it'll take you there. And you don't even have to deal with all of the outside stuff, right? I think that that is such an important thing for people who get distracted super early. And that's another thing that I'm thinking about doing, is offering, well, it will be in the groups. I will have links in the groups, but also having a companion email eventually come out every single like week with all of the stuff, and then a link to the playlist in there so that you can jump in and you can get to the playlist, and all of them are linked in that playlist, and you can go through and you can find the one that coincides with what you're looking for. Like, say it's a Thursday and you haven't watched any this week, but you really want to watch Tuesdays, so you can find that one in there and watch it. Or you can watch in real, like watch it when it gets dropped, right? But that came to me, and I just accepted it and took it in and said, let's roll with it. And I really, again, I feel very aligned in this with what I'm doing. And I feel like this is kind of, I don't want to call it a test because I don't really feel like we're ever tested. But I do feel like this is like me putting in the reps. Like, if you don't exercise, you don't get stronger. This is me putting in the reps. This is me going through, doing all of the things enough that kind of says, okay, even if this isn't perfect, even if that isn't perfect, even if, she talks slower, and I watch everything at times two. When I watch myself, I can't even watch myself at times two at times because I'm like, I still talk too slow and it frustrates me. But I want to make sure I am articulating and getting things out there because my brain can go faster than my mouth does, and then it doesn't make sense. So I try to make sure I'm slowing myself down enough that you guys can understand and grasp what I'm talking about. But yeah, a lot of times I will watch things at times too because the pauses and the breaks and the things like that will throw me off and make me start to think about other things or get off topic, or I'll change my attention to something else or whatever. So if I watch it at times two, it forces me to actually watch it and pay attention so I understand what's being said, and I can't really pay attention to what's going on outside of me. So if I really want to get something out of it and I'm not just watching it for fun or support, I will watch things at times too so that I can actually get what I need to get out of them. That being said, and that's your permission to go ahead and watch this at times too. If you're YouTube Premium, you can go up to 3 times now. So if you need to, yes, more than, I welcome you to watch this at a higher speed. I totally get it. But it's not about this. It is about getting better with editing in a way, but also at the end of the day, I will have an editor and I know that. So it's like, I want to get better so that these episodes are better. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm going to have an editor who's going to do amazing things with what I do. And so I'm kind of leaning into that, like, okay, like, yes, we need to put forth professional editing, but we don't necessarily need to make everything perfect because, one, if everything's too perfect, it's not as interesting either. But also on top of that, that feels like I'm flexing muscles that I don't need to really work out. I want to work out the muscles of creativity. I want to work out the muscles of speaking my mind. I want to work the muscles out of reaching out to people and creating the community that I know is out there just waiting, right? So, alignment in business. How do you figure out what you're supposed to do? You take a deep breath. Like, that's what you do. You take a deep breath and you just go like, what feels aligned? What excites me? What do I want to do? What do I want to do that I can do? Right? We also have to talk about that, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And you can start messy. And there are lots of people who get monetized on YouTube in like 2 or 3 weeks because they're doing things consistently and they're new, and YouTube is like, ooh, here's a new person and they're being consistent and we're going to push them out. If you're old, like, this is like a 2-year-old account now or close to it. So I can be consistent and I'm going to get pushed out more, but not maybe as much as I would if I was new. And also, I tend to schedule my uploads. So, therefore, it's not the same as publishing and putting it straight out. But I'm also not willing to, at the beginning anyway, I wanted these out at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was not willing to upload at 5 o'clock in the morning because, yeah, that's just way too early. So, that being said, what are some things? Where are you at? What are you feeling? What's frustrating you, right? Let's have real conversations in these comments and tell me the things so that I can help you, so that maybe we can, you can get in the group. I am going to have the link to the free group in this yesterday's. I think I talked about it. The day before's, I think it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday that I talked about the group. And I'm going to have the group, or the link to the free group, in there. And we are going to have an amazing week in there for our 5-day challenge next week. Again, I'm going to talk about that in the closing, but let's talk about this in here and let's talk about it in the group, right? Let's figure out what are some things that light you up. What are some things that feel aligned, so that you can make the actions that feel aligned instead of feeling like you're dragging your feet because somebody else told you you should do this and you just kind of jumped into it, and now all of a sudden you're like, I don't know about that. I don't know, like I didn't really plan on doing this. I was all, fine with my 9 to 5 or whatever. And now I like really like the idea of not having to work for somebody else, but I also don't want to have to like cold call people, or I don't want to have to, do stunts or something on YouTube, whatever it is that you were told, right, by people. Let's talk about it and let's get you on that aligned path so you could start making those steps so that you can see that consistency and all of that come back to you. Alrighty, guys, we are going to wrap this episode up. I will see you over there. Hey guys, it's Friday. Weekend is hours away from us. I want you guys to pat yourselves on the back and take a deep breath and realize that this week we have done so much deep work, so much. And it may have only seemed like little pieces, right? It's like little pieces of the puzzle, but we've done so much work towards setting that foundation. And I am so proud of you for doing all of that. That is so cool. All right, I said I was going to tell you guys about the 5-day challenge. We are going to talk about, and I said a little bit about it. I've been dropping little hints and stuff. February is Valentine's month, obviously. And I think that a lot of times we put so much emphasis on relationships and so much emphasis on things like relationships, things like, love and being in love and all of that kind of stuff. But you can be in love with things. You can be in love with places, right? You can be in love, like, the place that we went to in Florida. Like, I absolutely am ridiculously happy there. And that place makes me so happy and so at peace. And I cannot wait until the summer when we get to go back. It's already on my schedule. I already have the hotel room booked. So I'm excited about that. But, and this is something that I feel from the depths of my soul that needs to be said, like, we can be in love with our lives. We can love waking up. We can wake up and be excited that we get to pour ourselves a cup of coffee, that we get to sit and drink it wherever it is that lights us up. And if you are not living that life right now, right? If you're like, I do not see any way that I could live that life right now, I challenge you to click the link to get in the group, the free group. I am, like I said, I'm ridiculously excited because I feel like there's a lot of simple tweaks that we can make that will take so much stress off of us, that will allow us to feel happier, more alive, more excited to be in our own lives. And it just takes some tweaks. It doesn't take, I mean, yeah, granted, I think a lot of us would love, a couple $1,000,000 in a nice home and, all of that. Like, that's like your common what I'd do if I won the lottery kind of thing, right? But this is deeper than that. This is about finding those moments in every day. This is about, like I said, drinking your morning coffee. And, maybe like for me, I have a lake out back right now that I can drink my coffee and watch the water. When it is cold, like it has been, and it's frozen over, it's not necessarily as pretty, and it's dark usually when I'm drinking my coffee and you can't see it. I can sit and light a candle and watch and drink my coffee by candlelight, right? I can find ways to make myself feel better about things, to drop little things, right? If that's, I'm gonna go spend, instead of going and, maybe I can't afford to go to Starbucks every day and get myself my favorite coffee drink, but I can get the stuff to make it at home, and I can sit and I can pretend that I got my Starbucks coffee and just enjoy the fact that I get to enjoy this, right? I won't give you all of the things. I won't give you all of it because you guys have to come to the challenge, right? Click that link, get into the group, introduce yourself, Let's do this. I'm so excited. And I will see you guys next week. We'll be in week 4. Do you even believe it? Episode 16 through 20. I cannot even with how amazing this whole idea has been. And I am so grateful to each and every one of you for your comments, for your likes, for the shares, for all of it. I will talk to you guys next week. Have a great weekend.